the recording. All right, so it is time for our webinar with Baker Donelson. It's a special company in several respects. First of all, it's a first-time participant in X-Culture. So we have 15 partners this semester, and most of them are returning companies that participated last semester. Baker Donelson is a first-time participant. Second, the company is a uniquely good match for what X-Culture does. At least the team that we are working with, they specialize in assisting companies in cross-border business. So they basically do professionally what X-Culture students are trying to learn to do professionally. And so I'm a little worried, I'll be honest, as to how much we can tell them that they don't know, because these guys, they specialize in legal and accounting support for companies that basically do business across borders. But at the same time, it's a wonderful opportunity for the students to learn. And so today we have a webinar with several people from the team there. So who will tell us a little bit more about the company, about the business they do, as well as clarify a little bit more as to what kind of help they seek from the students. So hopefully this way, you guys, students, will be able to focus your attention where it will provide the greatest value. And so as always, the format will be the same. So we'll start with a very quick informal introduction of the company, products, maybe a little bit about the history, and then we'll move on to the questions. And I already received quite a few questions over the last several days that are already grouped, and then hopefully there will be more as we progress. And I see we have a few students in attendance. More will hopefully join us in a few minutes. We had a time zone confusion here. But without any further ado, I'm going to move to give the microphone to John. John Scanepico. Did I pronounce that name correctly?
That's pretty good.
Yes. And John, could you tell us a little bit more about the company in general terms, and then we'll move on with questions and answers.
Sure. Thank you very much. First of all, I want to thank you for allowing us to participate. We are really excited. One of the I think of my colleague Maria Ferro, who is the Director of Development for our global business team, and myself. We love to learn from others, and we look forward to learning from all of your students, maybe ways that we can improve our processes and how we approach our business. So, but let me get right to it. We are one of the top 50 law firms in the United States by size. We have 22 offices. We are located in Texas, Louisiana, Alabama, Mississippi, Florida, Georgia, South Carolina, Tennessee, Washington, D.C., and Maryland. We are what is considered to be a full-service law firm, and what that means is that we really provide a full range of services really that any law firm can provide to our clients. Our clients are both businesses and individuals and governments, government agencies. I mean, literally, whoever can be represented by a lawyer, we have them as clients. Those services that we typically provide, I think they're listed kind of somewhat in detail in our materials, but they generally touch on business, so mergers and acquisitions, general business counseling and advice, commercial transactions, employment, immigration, securities, finance, oil and gas, energy, shipping, disputes, so resolving disputes, and real estate, tax. So really a full range of services. We are broken into four main groups: business, finance, or financial services, healthcare, and disputes. I'm the co-chair of the global business team, and we are under the umbrella of the business department. As I described our firm to be a full-service law firm, our global business team is a full-service team within the law firm. So we like to consider ourselves a law firm within the law firm because we provide a full range of legal services to our U.S. and non-U.S. clients across borders. So again, it's a full range of services. They're listed, I think, fairly detailed in our materials that you can look at. Most of our work, though, centers around business and giving business advice, helping companies either invest in other countries or operate in those countries, or simply buy or sell goods and services across borders, and then all aspects of those transactions.
So John, several students already emailed us about that. So could you clarify what exactly that entails? So let's say a company either wants to move into a new market from the United States, or a foreign company wants to do business in the United States.
Sure.
So what exactly you say, help buy, sell?
Okay, sure.
contracts? What exactly would you help?
Yes, that's an excellent question. So it is, I'll give you the whole continuum of services that we offer there, and then a client can come in into that continuum anywhere along that process. But from start to finish, a company would say, I am interested in going global, or maybe they even may have a particular country involved, and we help them think through strategically how maybe they should enter that market, if they should enter that market, and if they should, how. And either through a greenfield investment, a brownfield investment, a merger or acquisition, or some other type of relationship, distributor, agent, or something like that. And then we work through. So if it's an actual investment in the country, like a greenfield or brownfield investment, we will then help them identify potential sites by either helping them do that ourselves or referring them to other professionals that have that expertise. We negotiate with, in the United States, with different states for incentives that may be available to encourage or incentivize that investment, or in other countries with that government's agency that is charged with recruiting, U.S. investment into the country. Then we help them acquire the land or lease the land. We help them with construction, with developing immigration strategies. So typically, if the U.S. company is going abroad, they want to bring in part of their U.S. management team into that non-U.S. Into the foreign country, or vice versa. They want to bring the non-U.S. into the U.S., and it's not as easy as it was, say, 10 years ago, anywhere in the world. And so a strategy there is really important. We help them, as I said, with the construction of their space, and then helping them get set up. So we'll help them create and establish a human resources department. We may help them establish other departments within the company with guidelines and policies and procedures. We provide, especially our non-U.S. clients, with training. We find that cross-cultural communication is one of the biggest problems, or one of the biggest reasons why maybe a non-U.S. investment will fail here in the U.S. is simply because the non-U.S. managers and the U.S. employees simply fail to communicate entirely. And so we'll help them with that. We also train them on U.S. employment laws and other laws that may be applicable to their business, so they're more familiar. And then, of course, we help them with their drafting all their agreements and sales contracts, employment contracts, register their intellectual property, and then help them get operational in their ongoing business. So that's coming into the United States, but it also works the same way going out. And then on a merger and acquisition type of investment, again, we'll work with them on providing strategic business advice of should they approach this investment in this way, and then help them structuring that investment, and then literally working through the acquisition. So due diligence, financing, and then any regulatory issues that may have to be addressed, as well, and then getting them operational as it goes.
So just to confirm then, if I understand correctly, you do much, much more than just checking the contracts and making sure all the legal documents are in order. It sounds like you also help with the strategy development. You basically provide a full range consulting services, training. So it's almost like a full-scale consulting.
Yeah, we have really tried, as you can imagine, the law business has gotten extremely hyper competitive. And it used to be your market was maybe within 100 miles of where your office
Right.
was. Well, now, literally, as I try to tell my lawyers here, the world is your market. And so we have to be able, in order to compete, it's everyone is smart and everyone can draft a pretty good document or an agreement. It's now what other value add services can you provide that makes their job easier, and helps either the in-house counsel that may be at a company, or if they don't have those folks, the executives of that company. How can we help them do their job better and easier, more efficiently, and more cost effectively? So yes, all those services now are things that we offer.
Got it. Okay, very interesting. Actually, I didn't expect that you offer such a wide range of services.
No, but just to be clear, on a lot of those areas, we will go higher or recommend.
Right.
They retain, for example, there are site selection consultants that we can hire.
Right.
We'll get accountants who have cross-border accounting experience.
Right.
There are general contractors. There are other HR especially when you're talking about global mobility. There are services or companies that are out there that really, that is what they do, and they're more expert in it than us. Yeah. But generally speaking, we'll provide that general level of service, and if they want more in-depth, then we'll bring in other professionals in these different countries that we know.
But you can be sort of a one-stop helper for the client.
Yes.
So as long as they work with you, they don't have to worry about looking for those subcontractors.
Yes, yes. We'd really try to be more of a turnkey solution. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Got it. Now, I see we have already quite a few attendees. So what I wanted to say here is to the students, if you have questions, in addition to emailing them to me, you can also either raise your hand, and you literally have a button that looks like raise hand. And if you do that, we will see right away, and we can add you to the discussion so you can ask those questions live. Or you also have a button there that says Q&A, and you can just type your questions there, so we will see them and answer them in that order. So, all right. Sorry, John. Anything else that you wanted to talk about your company?
Well, and then also our global group is organized in 3 geographic clusters. We have one group that focuses on Asia, and within Asia, our primary countries that we target, because it seems like this is where the money is coming out of, or the money wants to go into, is Korea, Japan, and China. We're also grouped around Europe, primarily the German-speaking countries, so Switzerland, Germany, Austria, then Italy, France, Spain, and the UK, and Ireland. And then, of course, the Americas, Canada and Mexico, Brazil, Argentina, Chile, and some in Central America. But our primary focus would be Canada and Mexico.
Mm-hmm. Are there any specific new markets that you're interested in, either American companies going in there or companies from there coming to the United States?
Obviously, one area that I did not mention really at all is the Middle East. We do not have attorneys within our law firm that speak Arabic or any of the different dialects, or that are from that region, and so therefore I feel like that's an area that we have not been able to focus on, but I understand that there potentially are significant opportunities there. So that is always something that I'm looking for. And at the same time, I see now a lot more activity in Africa as the African nations now are coming together, forming trade blocs. I also see that there's opportunity as Chinese companies and European companies, and also I'm hoping that American companies will begin to invest in that area. I also see that maybe there is going to be significant opportunity, maybe not immediately today, but in the real near term, a couple of years to 10 years out. I think that will be 2 areas that I would love to see us, more involved in. So those areas I'm interested in, but right now I think what we're trying to do is figuring out, is our approach, the way we've approached the 3 geographic clusters that we are currently involved in, are we approaching it correctly, or is there a better way? I'm one that always believes there's probably a better way. You can always improve, and so I'd like to know that. And what are we missing? Are there opportunities that we're missing? Simply because it's a big world. And we try to keep on top of it, but we may just be missing. Maria, do you have anything to add to that?
No, I agree with that approach. I think we're getting affirmation if what we're doing currently is working, and then also some ideas of maybe some other things that we could be adding to the development side as to how better to go to market in those existing markets. What are we missing? Are we missing anything? Are we penetrating it in the right way? Mm-hmm. Those types of things.
Mm-hmm. One question about geography. Do you have any permanent employees or offices in any of those countries, or you operate strictly out of the United States?
Yeah, so we used to have offices. We had an office in Beijing. We had an office in Baghdad. We had an office in London. And when I was asked to assume the role of co-chair and organize the group, we looked at it, and from our perspective, these were lost leaders. And we only had a very small group or small number of attorneys in these offices, and we didn't have all the expertise that we really needed, but we felt somewhat compelled to use the offices because, of course, they were contributing to our overhead. So we decided to change our model and our approach, and we closed those offices and now rely on either our legal networks that we participate in, a group called Terralex, or Mackerel, and also our own personal relationships that we've developed. I've been practicing law for almost 30 years.
Right.
We have others of my same age in terms of legal experience. And we use those folks as well. And what our focus has been is trying to find the right lawyer in the right area. And that means, for example, if we're in southern France and I need an intellectual property lawyer, well, somebody in Paris may not be appropriate because I need maybe someone with local knowledge. And so now we have the ability to really go local because so much of business is done at the local level. That's been our approach. Now, with having said all that, if, for example, we develop a significant amount of revenue from a client or two in a particular region, then, of course, I think then it makes more sense to be able to service that client more effectively, cost-effectively and efficiently to potentially open an office in that area. But right now, we have been very successful in, not having those offices. And I've talked to, many of my friends that are at, global law firms. And, this is something they struggle with all the time is, inconsistent quality and just the overall cost. And is that something that they really want to pursue? And we've just decided to go this way at this point.
Now, Patrick Gloss is asking if you work only with large companies or smaller businesses can use your services as well.
Yeah, so even globally, we work with startups. It could be yourself in your garage, or all the way up to true multinational, global big brand companies that you're aware of. What we've done is we've tried to develop anyway, what I'll call more fixed fee services. So we have, for example, we call our emerging company toolkit. That we can use for a non-U.S. company entering the U.S. market, and it provides a range of services they typically need to get established here in the United States with some basic agreements and documents, some basic IP protection, and then a small block of our time they can use later for a fee that can, depending on what they're doing and who they are, from about $7,500 US to maybe $15,000 US. And we can do the same thing going out as well. And then with our big companies, obviously, there's all sorts of alternative fee arrangements that we can do. But yes, we represent the full spectrum of clients.
Mm-hmm. Now, there is a question, maybe I'm going too fast here, but there is a question, would it be of value to you if the students surveyed potential clients and asked them how they choose a law company, a law firm that would represent them? So ask them, do they use one? If they do, how do they choose it? What would it take them to switch to a different company? So
yes.
That's sort of market research.
Yes, most definitely. I mean, that is, I have to say, that's sometimes a $64 million question, because when we ask, we sometimes don't get, I don't think either, I don't want to say truthful because that's not the right word. We do not get, I think, sometimes complete answers because they don't want to hurt our feelings, right? Or our feelings.
Right.
And so, yeah, we would love to know how people in different countries choose, because of course we recognize that it is different. And the more information we have there, then I think then we can tailor the services we offer, how we approach that market, even our marketing collateral, everything about how we do it. That would be great information.
So for the students,
Maria wants to add. Maria?
Yeah, one thing I'd like to add to that as well is if the students can determine, a lot of times we'll ask in the U.S., ascertain their legal spend, if you will, on a particular project. What is their legal budget, if you will?
Right.
And we found in the past through different client surveys, when a third party asks, we'll use a third party to do client surveys. And they will ask the client, what is your legal spend in this area, or, your budget, not your spend, your budget. And then also understanding how they like to buy the service. Is it more so fixed?
Right.
What's the hourly? Is it blended, capped, all those things?
Right.
Those are really key ingredients to understanding how to offer our service in a way that appeals to them from a pricing point of view.
Exactly. So then for the students, I will give the tip. 4 teams so far asked if they should do a survey, but everybody else who will be watching the recording of this meeting or watching now live, it may be a good idea, especially if you're outside the United States, if you know any companies that either already do business in the United States or considering doing business in the United States, surveying them and talking to them how they select a law firm, how they selected one that they already work with perhaps, what is the most convenient way for them to pay for the services to better understand what they seek. And then based on that information, it will be much easier for you to develop some proposals, some ideas for the client, for Baker Donelson. Hopefully that will guide your decision making. So do spend time to talk to potential customers. It will give you a much better understanding as to what's going on through their minds when they select a law firm. All right, several students asked about your competition. So who are your competition? Are those other law firms? Can you maybe name some names? And how would you consider yourself better or worse compared to your competition?
Yeah, sure. I think, and it depends who our competition is, but I think on a global level, we compete against Dentons, Dentons. We compete against Baker McKenzie.
Mm-hmm.
We compete against, who else would you say?
Do you want to say, do you think Eversheds would be included in that?
Yeah, Eversheds.
So all of these are large law firms, right?
Yes.
The smaller ones are not really competition?
No, well, if they are, maybe we compete for that one client at one time.
Mm-hmm.
See what I'm saying? Because the smaller firms don't have they typically don't have the range of service capabilities,
right,
and they don't have the geographic kind of reach, but it may be simply because of a relationship that we compete, there. I think locally, also Bass, Berry, and Sims.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So now strength and weaknesses.
Yes, and then I have some more. And then Smith, Gambrell, Gambrell, and Arnold, Arnell, Golden, and Gregory.
I will be honest, I have asked that question probably 100 times in the previous webinars, and I've never ever had a company that would give us a list of competitors like this. In most cases, they say, well, we don't really have competition, or we have some. Like, it's interesting that you know your competition by name. So that's.
Oh, I mean, trust me, we run up against them all the time. Like, I'll hear, well, it's between you and X, and sometimes we finish second, sometimes we win, sometimes we finish fourth, and so yes, it is. As I explained, this is it is now a global competition. For this work. And there are more, but I think those are the ones that we typically come. And maybe even in China, it's King Wood and Mallison. I think it was a merger of King and Wood and an Australian firm, but I think it's King Wood and Mallison. I think is another. We'll come up against them, as well.
And just to highlight something, Bass is Smith, Gambrell, and Arnold Golden. That's more the focus
on German.
On German.
Those Smith, Gambrell, and the Arnold Gregory Golden, or Arnold Golden. It's Arnold Gregory and Golden.
Something
it's
like
AGG.
Yeah, AGG.
They're both based in Atlanta, and we compete against them for German work.
Right. Okay.
German speaking work.
Mm-hmm. So how do you differentiate yourself from the competition? What are your strengths and perhaps weaknesses compared to the competition?
Sure. So we are because of our geographic location spread out throughout the Southeast United States, if you look at most of our competitors, they are either large global law firms with, 10,000 lawyers, huge places. And they have offices in what I'll call the financial money center firms, cities around the United States, around the world. What they don't have, though, is they don't have offices, what I'll call locally. So where the companies are going to operate their business, where the company maybe that's being acquired is located. Well, if you look at us, especially in the Southeast, we have an office that is physically within 100 to 125 miles from any place any of these businesses are located. And so we have the global capability and the global understanding, but at the same time, we can help you locally. Because as I said, once you're doing business, it's all done for the most part locally. And so we have the local contacts with the mayors and the councils and all the various regulatory bodies. So when the trash isn't getting picked up or there's a local employment issue, we know who to call for them. And so in a lot of cases, I sometimes maybe will come, not a lot, but I'll come in second maybe on the acquisition because of some perceived value in that mega firm. But I usually then immediately go back to them before that deal is even closed, and I'll pitch all their operational work, and I can get it because the mega firm can't compete with us on the local work and on price, on the rates for that local work.
So you're kind of a sweet middle, so you're not too big, but at the same time, you're big enough to offer a full range of services.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
Now, we have a lot of questions, about a dozen emails with questions about how do you currently promote yourself? So basically your marketing strategy at this time, how do you acquire clients? How do you present yourself to the clients? Could you give us a little information on how you do that now?
So the easiest way we do it is referrals from other clients, right? So we've serviced a good client. I will get calls saying, hey, you've helped X, they've recommended you. So that's number one. We also write articles, and we get interviewed quite a bit by various publications, anything from CNN, New York Times, to industry-specific trade magazines. We are now getting published in other countries as well, although that could be a great source of information too. You know, if we were to get published in either newspapers or magazines, you know, what would those be in these countries? We also speak quite a bit in different countries. So, for example, I leave tomorrow for Asia for 3 weeks, and I'm giving speeches in Tokyo, Osaka, and then in about 7 Chinese cities over the next 3 weeks. So we'll do that in country. We try to speak to businesses, you know, business owners through chambers of commerce or other organizations, you know, like that. We also organize our own webinars as well, you know, that we can do from here, but we push out globally. We also then obviously have our website, and if you go to our website, you'll see our global business team page. Within that global team page, we have sites dedicated to China, Japan, German speaking, and Italian in Italy as well. So we'll do that. And then, as I say, we try to, because we have so many lawyers that speak so many different languages, we try to have them go in country and give presentations and meetings with referral sources and other like professional organizations. We find that typically, depending on where you are, if I'm a business in a non-U.S., in a foreign country looking to come to the United States, I'm talking to an accountant, I'm talking to another lawyer, or I'm talking to a government person, and we like to get those folks to refer the work, you know, to us.
Would you consider some targeted advertisement either in professional magazines, something related to business, or perhaps direct mail, or that's too broad for you?
Yeah, you know, our firm has found that we rarely advertise in hard copy publications, and we do some campaigns as a firm on websites, you know, digitally, but we don't. That's really not our go-to strategy. Our go-to strategy is to get embedded into the referral sources and into where our clients go and where our clients hang out, if you will, and which means what do they read, what events do they attend, you know, where our clients are is where we want to be, because we feel that when they get to know us, we're invested in their, you know, in their company, and we want them to view us as a partner.
Yeah, that's an excellent point, because we also, I forgot about that. It's, you know, so let's say, for example, we're focused on aviation and aerospace. Well, where do those folks go globally for their conferences, for their trade shows? So, you know, the Paris Air Show, or the air show in the UK, or there's a lot of big conferences around this out in Las Vegas. So our lawyers that are focused on this, we'll send them there to either get speaking roles, leadership roles within maybe the organizations that are sponsoring or hosting, you know, or planning that organization, you know, that meeting, things like that.
Yeah, and so I can name for you some key ones that we currently are involved in. And
yes, please. Somebody actually just asked about that. Yes, could you give a few examples?
AmCham Germany, AmCham Italy, We have two lawyers that are representatives of the Southeast, if you will, for both of
And
those.
that's the American Chamber of Commerce, Germany, American Chamber of Commerce, Italy.
Yes, and so we will work with those organizations, let them get to know us, we get to know them, and we try to get in-country events with them. And then also, just in general, we host delegations they bring over. So it's a relationship building with these organizations. Then we have a really strong relationship with the German American Chamber of Commerce in Atlanta. And they have in-country events in Germany with the local chambers of commerce, which were a big deal in Germany, for getting in front of those clients and potential clients and prospects. So, where do those companies go? They tend to go to those chamber events. And so we try to be there at those events, and our German-speaking lawyers go to those events and speak in the language and present in that language.
We also have relationships and work a lot with the China Council for Promotion of International Trade. I'm chairman of the Japan American Society, so we also focus on the Southeast U.S. Japan Society / Japan Southeast U.S. Society. And I'm actually going to our annual global meeting in Tokyo, which will be next week. But all the Japanese businesses that have invested in the Southeastern United States will come. All the Southeast states will come, and we get together and we do things like that. We also work in the UK. We have many groups, but the one that we're focused on right now, it seems a lot, is the Association of British Health Tech Industries. We also work with City Economic Development Organization. So I have a delegation actually leaving today that was here in Nashville, Tennessee from London through London Partners, which is the mayor of London's economic development organization and promotional organization. We also work with the American Chamber in Canada.
And we've had experiences in Israel as well.
Mm-hmm.
And,
So we find these business groups
Yeah.
and these but like I said, the Paris Air Show is another good one. There's a show called SHOT Show out in Las Vegas. It's defense oriented. Select USA, which is all about promoting inbound investment to the USA, that's sponsored by the U.S. Commerce Department.
Oh, what would be interesting about that, Vass, with Select USA, that's a huge Department of Commerce conference that happens in June, and they get thousands of people to come, and the whole idea is invest in the U.S., right? And so it's a target-rich environment for us as a firm. All of the states present themselves in this one location. They bring their ECD folks, their economic development folks, so that all these foreign companies that are interested in coming to the U.S. and they want to learn more about it actually travel to D.C. For this conference, and then at their disposal through all the trade show atmosphere at the booths, they can go talk to Tennessee, Alabama, Mississippi. They can hit all states and talk to the different ECD folks to figure out what is a good fit for my company if I am going to come on over.
Makes perfect sense.
That to be a really good environment for us to integrate into and network within.
Yeah, makes perfect sense. There is a very interesting question from Ashley Cruz. She's asking, so who are the decision makers that decide to work with you? You say firms, businesses, but there must be a specific person within the company. Is it usually the CEO or is it the head of the accounting?
Well, actually, that's an excellent question, and it depends, which you'll find everyone that's going to be either listening live or they'll hear this later. That's a lawyer answer. It depends. But it really does. So, for example, if the company has a robust, internal legal department, then sometimes that decision is made within that department by the general counsel or one of the internal lawyers that has been given that level of responsibility or authority. Otherwise, it is done typically then through the C-suite, maybe the CFO, a COO, or a CEO. And then it also can be done by, if it's, let's say, for example, this is the U.S. affiliate of a non-U.S. parent, whatever title that the head manager here in the U.S. has, it could be president, it could be general manager, or something else. That person may make that decision as well. And so that's a good question as you go through, I think, this challenge, because it varies from country to country, I found. Some countries, the governance is all done at the parent level, and it's all done through the C-suite. In, say, for example, other countries, it may be done at a lower level because they're given that authority to then make that hire or to spend that money. But it really does depend. And so that would actually be, I think, an excellent,
survey
that may be part of that survey. Is, how do you and who?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yep. That was an excellent question.
Yeah, you already pointed out in your, as you were talking, that you don't go broad, so you don't advertise through TV or newspapers or magazines. So you're trying to get directly to the decision makers by trying to meet them at conferences with chambers of commerce. And yes, you're right. So if those decision makers are different in different cultures or economic systems, maybe the students can do some survey and see who makes those sorts of decisions in their country. So, and where those people perhaps hang out so that you can target them directly. One more question, or actually a group of questions related to your current pricing strategy. I'm not sure if you can give us some numbers, but what is the structure of basically price? Is it by hour, or is it a fixed cost, or is it a subscription? How does it normally work with paying for your services?
Sure, and it varies. So we, typically lawyers, this fee for service, we would charge you for every hour worked, we'd charge you an hourly rate, right? And we then would add up, well, I spent 3 hours and my rate is X, and there it is. That's the old model. We still do a lot of that. Our rates range from about, and I should have had this information, and I apologize. I meant to check it this morning, and I forgot to do it. But I think our rates range from about maybe $250 an hour U.S. for a brand new young associate to maybe $700-800 an hour for a more senior partner. We have some that are more, but they have very unique, skill sets. But generally speaking, those are our hourly rates. But what we're finding, though, is, again, in this hyper-competitive world in which we're operating, that companies, like anything else, want more certainty with respect to what it is they're going to pay for the services that they're asking us to provide. And so we have a whole department here that is our alternative fee department. And how many people are in it?
I don't know, but your students should know that that's a differentiator for our firm. We're one of the leaders in legal project management. We have people who are certified, the Sigma certifications, the project management certifications.
Yep.
We take it pretty seriously, and it's a part of who we are and what we do for our clients.
And so, but like anything else, okay, to provide you the more fixed fee that you want, we need information from the prospect or from the existing client. The more information they can provide, the more cost certainty that we can then provide. Now, for some clients that we represented, I have one client I've represented for almost 19 years, I have just a tremendous amount of data, and it's the same type of case over and over and over again. I can probably give them, within a very small range of variance, this is what it's going to cost, right? And then for others, maybe we don't have experience with you in particular, but we've represented a lot of clients in your industry on this particular type of matter, and we can use that data, and we can come up with these fixed fees. We also can do, we're trying now to do more of what we call monthly retainer.
Right.
I will charge you, make it X, and I'll provide for you each month services that are within this scope of services, right? And I'll define the scope. I also try to provide a clear what's excluded from the scope, and then we go forward and we evaluate it. It can be every quarter, it can be every 6 months, every year. If it's plus or minus some agreeable percentage, we just move on. But if it's outside that percentage and maybe you've paid me more than you used, I'll give you a refund and we'll adjust going forward. If you've used more than what you paid for, you'll pay me a little bit more and we'll adjust going forward. But we also we can phase services. Really, the world, there is no limit now, I think, to what we can do. It's really more about what works best for the client and for us to achieve their goals.
Right. Our biggest challenge when a foreign company comes to us and says, I'm about to acquire this and that, they then say, tell us what you're going to charge. And they really provide us hardly any details.
Right.
Trying to figure out, and you're up against a bunch of other firms, and and that's a real pain point for us, is understanding the scope of a project, but yet they want that price so fast, and it's like you don't know all the details you need to know.
Yeah.
But I find that, though, that again, that's more of a cultural issue in how that company within their own country, okay, how they're used to buying the service.
Right.
So, it's again getting, it's taking our apple and the other country's orange and trying to somehow, you know what I mean, get everybody on the same page. But that's part of the challenge. I think that's why we all love doing what we do, because it's taking all these different cultures and way people do business and trying to make it work for everyone. And we try to educate and we try to work, with them. But yeah, so that's the other aspect too, is it's really open to whatever we can come up with that makes sense for that particular project. But like I said, typically it's an hourly thing, a fixed fee thing, or it's going to be some retainer type of relationship. I think those are the three main ways that we bill our clients. And then we also have, as a differentiator, this legal project management tool. So it's real-time budgeting, real time. You can actually see where you are in the project in real time from anywhere in the world. And it's a really great tool. We use it. We actually we get hired by the law firms and other groups to teach them how to do it. We are one of the leaders.
What is it called? What's that tool?
Legal project management. And if you go to our website, you will be able to find, I'll go ahead and send you some links.
Because I imagine that in your line of business, it's almost impossible to predict how many hours exactly the task will take. And so I assume something like this, a tool like this that allows you to budget and then track the progress.
Yes. Yes. Well, it's, our history, we're over 100 years old. We have a lot of data. It's now trying to, it's like anybody in any business around the world now. I've got this mountain of data. How do I make sense out of it? And that's what this group really is charged with doing, is using the data that we have to then provide that level of cost certainty that makes the client feel comfortable enough to say, assuming all other factors, are in our favor, to say, yes, I want to hire you. And I find that makes my job of selling our services, because at the end of the day, by the way, that's what we do. Other companies may sell widgets. I sell time in increments of 6 minutes. That's basically what I do. And but this makes it a lot easier to be able to do that.
Right. So we're pretty much out of time, and I know you need to go. Do we have a minute for questions from students?
Oh yeah, sure. I have another 14 minutes. Then I have.
Okay. So I have a few more questions that came. Yeah, I have a few more questions that came by email, but we have about 20 students here now. So guys, if you have any questions, as I said, you can raise your hand and we can add you here so you can engage in the discussion directly, or you can just type your questions in Q&A. And meanwhile, I have a few questions in the email account so that come in. So let me see what's the next one. So yes, talking about pricing strategy, again, a question, would it be then valuable to go and talk to the businesses in different countries where our students are and ask them how they, on the one hand, pay their lawyers, and two, what would be their preferred payment structure? Would survey of that kind be valuable to you at all?
Yes, I think if you put that with the other survey that we kind of discussed, how do they buy? What factors do they consider? Who buys? How do you pay? What would you like to pay? I think all of that information is extremely valuable. Sure. I mean, because that's, like I said, they rarely will tell us that information. When if I ask, definitely not. You just muted.
Yeah, so several students are also asking whether it would be valuable, and I know we talked about that and you said probably not at this stage, but would it be valuable if they tried to find you clients? Pretty much all of the other challenges include the request for trying to find a client. And I know you said at this stage probably
yes.
early, but should they at least try to talk to someone and see if they might be interested in using your services?
Sure. This is our issue though. We can't share fees with non-lawyers. So it's an ethical issue, and we could get in, a lot of trouble for that. But yes, if over the course of having the conversation, they have a company or an individual who might be interested, then yes, we're more than happy. Trust me, you'll get a Christmas card for sure, from me, or a holiday card of any sort from me, thanking you. But yes, that would be fine. That would be fine.
So just to be sure then, so what you're saying is that it would be impossible for you to give many details to the students to sort of negotiate on your behalf, but if they run across a company that is looking for a law firm in the United States, they can basically refer them to you, and then you will handle it from there.
Yes, and if they, and it may be, with I have to think through the ethical issues a little bit,
right.
but it may be if we have those conversations with the potential client, we might be able to include that student in those conversations. I have to think through some of the ethical issues. It really depends on where they are, where we are, things like that. But if there needs to be attorney-client privilege, things like that. But yeah, maybe that's something we can do to make it a more meaningful experience for them.
Yeah. So now I have about 2,000 emails over the last few days that basically ask the same thing. What would it take to get a job at your company? What kind of people you're looking for? If you could go back in time and go back to college, what would you focus on to maximize your chances of getting a job at a company like this? So any career advice here for our students?
Sure. So I'm going to focus on the global group because as I said, we're like 800 lawyers and there's so many different departments and experiences. But from a global perspective, I believe having obviously a language capability where you can work and, converse in that language, having some global experience. So and it could be anything from I studied abroad to I actually worked abroad. Like I worked at a chemical factory in Denmark for a while. Totally unrelated to what I do now, but again, having that experience, living in a different place, I think is invaluable. And then from the law perspective, just having good grades in law school is critical. That's, I think, a factor that we look at. We don't require you to attend a U.S. law school, although having a U.S. law degree makes it a lot easier, for you and for us. If I could go back in time and do it again, I had the opportunity to get a joint law degree and an MBA, but I paid for my own college and law school, and I was kind of burned out on school at the time, and I didn't want to borrow any more money. But 1 year of my life now at my age would be, it's a blink of an eye. And I really wish I had done that because I think, especially doing what I do now, which is providing a lot of outside general counsel, business advice, more so than even, the law, I think that would have been invaluable to me, especially if I could have emphasized, more of a global kind of business background.
So when you hire people for your team, then what would you look at? What do you look at? You said grades, degrees?
Yeah, so I look at grades. I look at experience. I look at language capabilities or other what I'll call global experience that they may have. And for us, we really emphasize the ability to work on a team. Because our practice is we are scattered amongst all of our offices. We have to work together remotely. We have to work together over video, the phone, and it's all a team thing because I don't have all the expertise that's necessary for me to represent successfully anyway a company that's working globally. I have to rely on maybe about 7 other lawyers within my firm. And if we don't get along or can't work together, then that's not going to happen. So we really, really will focus on whether we perceive you to be a team player or not. And if you're not, then you could be the best, think of the best law school, the best grades, the best experience. I'm unlikely to recommend that we hire you because it just won't work.
Here is a very interesting question from Pablo. He is saying that we see a huge change in many industries. Uber is basically changing how we do transportation. Airbnb is changing how we do hotels, and so on and so forth. Are there any changes happening in the legal industry?
Yes, I think with the adoption of technology, with AI tools now, for example, so it used to be on, let's say, a merger and acquisition transaction of any size, you would need maybe 15 to 20 lawyers to work through the diligence that was required if you were, say, you were acquiring the company because you had to go through so many documents. Well, then all that information moved to a data room that was digital online, but you still needed a lot of people, maybe not as many. Now with AI tools, a couple of associates and a partner or two, the AI tool goes through all the documents, looks for the things you want it to look for. So that is shrinking and changing the way we're practicing. But there are other, technological innovations, I think, that are happening here that are changing the way we practice. I also believe that within my lifetime as a lawyer, or my career as a lawyer, you'll start to see accounting firms. They're slowly encroaching on some of the services that we offer. They're acquiring lawyers. And if outside the United States, for example, the largest law firms are actually the accounting firms. And I think you'll see that also now in the United States at some point in the next probably 10 years. And so that is a big, big, big challenge to us. I also think you're seeing, if you look at firms, you've got global mega firms that seem to be growing even more. You've got in small boutique firms that are growing in the sense of, because they're so specialized, they can be so focused on some niche either industries or even issues within industries. And so that's putting a lot of pressure on everybody in the middle to kind of differentiate, to adopt technology and other things. Maria, I know you have a couple things.
Yeah, some things that are disruptive. They haven't really panned out yet, but we're on committees for them so that we stay on top of it, is blockchain technology.
Yes.
How will that affect the legal profession? It's going to affect everybody, right? And so we know it will affect the legal profession as well. We just don't know exactly the impact yet. So we're cognizant of blockchain technology as well as John described, AI is currently now in the game and
right.
changes to how we practice.
Yeah, so I think overall the biggest challenges that law firms face right now, it's how can I provide the services in the most cost-effective way and most efficient, and meaning
right.
how can I do more in less time? And those who can do that and provide quality, I mean, it's all, this assumes always quality. Those that can do that effectively, those are the firms that I think will win ultimately. But I also believe you have to have, unless you're a real niche player, right, in a boutique firm, I think you also have to be able to do business globally. Because now, whether you're a startup or you're a huge multinational, think about extended supply chains. Think about, the world is our market, with moving towards this idea that, brick and mortar businesses, they'll always be there, but we're moving more to this gig economy where we'll be putting up jobs for bid. I have a friend that actually works at a virtual law firm. There must be 100 of them. 100 people in this firm. So, we're starting to see that too. So those that can reach the world, I think also will be successful. Yeah. Those are the kind of
yeah. Two more questions so we have 2 more minutes, but 2 more quick questions. One, very interesting question. So we see that the world is becoming more fragmented. Wars are coming up, Brexit, trade wars, tariffs. All of this, does it add more job for you? Is it good for your business or bad for your business?
Well, it's interesting because, again, it depends. So, for example, let's focus on China and the U.S. So at one point, we were just overrun with inbound Chinese investment, say, coming to the United States in terms of work, and it was great. Inbound Chinese investment is down 90% year over year. So that is slow. But because of all the uncertainties with trade and tariffs, we are overrun now with requests for exemptions from tariffs. We're helping companies understand their supply chain and how maybe they need to address their supply chain and changes that may need to be made in order to, facilitate their business. So with NAFTA being renegotiated, all of those things create work. So our work is changing from, say, the acquisition work we were doing and the inbound investment work we were doing to now more trade-related, trade sanctions work, things like that. So, yeah, it has changed what we're doing, but we're as busy, if not busier, than we were even a year ago.
Yeah, it's more of a reactive to what's going on in the marketplace, urgent reactions to the ever-changing market. Because
it's changing so fast that we can't be as proactive as we used to be, although we're trying to figure out what's next. I'm big into futurists and what's happening next. So we can kind of get on top of the wave and not be behind it.
Right. Joanna, I see you raised your hand. Did you want to ask a question? And if so, just unmute your microphone and go ahead. Somebody raised hand. While she's unmuting her microphone, one more question, if I may. So the lawyers that we see in movies are always very busy and hardworking. Can you describe your typical day? And do you ever regret that you became a lawyer?
Well, as my wife once asked me, do you work 24 hours a day now? And, it just depends. I chair a global group. We have clients and lawyers all over the world operating all the time. So in that respect, I guess I do work all the time. But my typical day, I arrive at the law firm at 6 a.m. Eastern. I try to leave
6 a.m. at work in the office?
Yes. I try to leave by no later, because that way I can talk to my folks in Asia. I try to leave by no later than 6 p.m. So I can get home by 6:30, 7 o'clock at night.
When you say no later, that means that you're in the office 12 hours every day?
Yes, every day. Yeah, every day. And I work typically Saturday mornings from 5:30 a.m. to about 10:30 to noon, somewhere in there. Unless I have 4 children, so unless they have activities, that's typically what I do, so I can catch up on my work. But look, I love doing what I do. I love the fact that I get to be co-chair of a global group, and I get to talk to people from all over the world and understand what's happening where they are and what's happening here, and how, all of these things, all these changes that you mentioned, how are they going to impact the ability to do business, to operate successfully. So I love it. And not everybody does that at all. We have lawyers that typically will show up maybe at 8, 8:30, 9 o'clock, and they leave by 5, 5:30 at the latest.
Also, too, just to point out to your team, to your students, obviously the firm has, we're a law firm, so we have lawyers, but we also have people like myself and a business development marketing officer. And I am a part of a department of 27 to 30 people. And I'm a business development manager. There's about 3 or 4 of us. There's not enough of us, to be honest with you. I could be doing just global, purely global all the time, and actually would like to be doing just global all the time. But I have some other practice groups that I work with as well. So there are career paths within a firm that are non-lawyer related. And just so the students know that as well, that are really robust and exciting and fun.
Yeah, and it's what you want. It's what you want out of it. I mean, I could, I didn't have a family or get married till I was much older, and this is just who I was. I traveled all over the place. I was gone 6 months out of the year, and this is just who I am. And I really enjoy work. I mean, I enjoy it. But I run every day. I'm on almost 3 years, consecutive days of running. So I do that. I still play ice hockey, and I still go see my 4 children do their activities. I saw my youngest child be Rain in a play last night. So, I get to do all those things, but doing what we do in order to service the clients the way I want us to service them, requires some effort. But you can find it runs the gamut. There are people that work a lot harder than me. There are people that work a lot less than me, and they're all very, very, very successful. But as Maria said, we have financial professionals that work here. We have marketing professionals that work here. We have paralegals, so they're, a quasi-lawyer. So yeah, you can find all kinds of, I think, jobs. But it is, for me, there are some days, like anything, being a lawyer. But I really do enjoy it. I mean, I also get to serve as the honorary consul from the UK. I get to do that. I mean, I chair a bunch of different international organizations. So that's, I never would have been able to do those things if I hadn't have been a lawyer and then worked my way through that. So
it's not a 9-to-5 job, but it's worth it.
For me, it is. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, just the opportunities that I've had and the people I've gotten to meet, and the conversations I get to have. For me, it is what I love it. I mean, I wouldn't have been able to do those things had I not become a lawyer. And I love the fact that my job, I love business too. And so if I didn't get a chance to do the business side too of, say, my clients, then maybe that I would telling you a different story. But the fact that I get to do, say, all 3 of those things, yeah, I mean, for me, it's a great job. And the fact the firm lets me kind of do it and lets us as our core global group kind of set the vision and tone of the group. I mean, it's a perfect kind of relationship.
Right. Yeah. Plus, you get to travel a lot, so I suppose that's an added perk. So we've exceeded your time, I know. Thank you so much. What will happen now is we'll probably get many more questions over the next several weeks as the students will be working on the challenge. With your permission, I will send them to you by email. And so what we normally do is we create a database of frequently asked questions. So if the question is repetitive and we already have an answer from you, we will just copy and paste. But if we have something new, maybe we will then approach you by email and ask for some more information if possible. And then I suppose not much will be happening other than the questions over the next 8 weeks or so as the students will be working on the challenge. But then sometime in the first week of December, we will have the reports for you. And then hopefully there will be many good ideas in them. And so that's when we'll get kind of busier. Again, we'll send you some more information and something for you to review and hopefully find some interesting stuff in it. So, all right, well, thank you so much for your time. And thank you so much, all the students, for being here. And as said, I do have the recording, so everybody else will be able to watch it over the weekend in recording.
Well, thank you very much. I mean, I can't tell you how we are really looking forward to participating in this program. I think it's I wish this program was around when I had been in college, because it's just a wonderful opportunity, and we can't wait to read all the students' reports. And I want to thank all the students for even showing some interest in in our business as a law firm. I know it's not as maybe exciting as the iPhone or something like that.
Oh, I don't know, the way you described it, it's very, very exciting.
But I really appreciate it, and we really can't wait to read your reports. And like I said, any questions, just feel free to send them. We're happy to answer them. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you,
bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.